As a kid, born in the late 90s, Dragon Ball has always been an omnipresent fact of childhood fascination. I struggle to remember a time when Son Goku doesn't occupy at least some small corner of brain closet, and I'm sure a lot of people my age can say the same. For a lot of us, Dragon Ball is as present of a cultural milestone as hot dogs or pizza or Mountain Dew Code Red. Food and drinks are those cultural touchstones. But for a large portion of my childhood, the adventures of Goku and his gang were strictly off limits. My deeply religious grandmother, who we spent much of our weekends and time out of school with, banned watching it. I believe she saw Goku turning into a great ape and she decided that was some sort of satanic or witchcraft situation. That was a crushing blow. And when I was home, there was next to no chance to watch it while Dad had control of the remote. It was 24-hour news or nothing, though he certainly would have gotten significantly more value from watching the Saiyan arc in my summation. But there was a silver lining. When we went to my great-grandmother's, we had a TV to ourselves, and on every visit, my brother and I would hope and pray for the hallowed words, "Your cousin, Jack, will be there." My cousin had everything, man. He had action figures of, like, everyone. Kid had a Deborah and Yakon action figure. Who has a Deborah action figure? Who has a Yakon action figure? Maybe more importantly, he had a PlayStation 1 and 2, and man alive did he have Dragon Ball games. I'm talking Budokai Tenkaichi. I'm talking about the other ones. In the pre-internet era, this was how I kept my finger on the pulse of Dragon Ball goings-on to the best of my ability for some time, leaning heavily on the possessions of a cousin that I scarcely interacted with. Hope you're doing well, cousin. Until eventually, my older brother coaxed our mom into buying some Dragon Ball games for the great and powerful Game Boy Advance. Dragon Ball Z Taiketsu was the first Dragon Ball thing that was really ours that I can remember. It was a simple fighting game for the GBA that looked extremely of its time and played much worse. I always kind of blame this game for souring me on fighting games for most of my life, which is an ailment that was recently cured thanks to watching EVO 2022, but your mileage may vary. I remember my brother being extremely into playing it while I always struggled with even slightly complex inputs and could never really get over how stiff it looked. However, as it just so happened, the developer of Taiketsu, Webfoot Technologies, would go on to develop a pretty dynamite little series of Game Boy Advance Dragon Ball action RPGs. Dragon Ball Z, The Legacy of Goku. Now we're almost talking. The original Legacy of Goku feels like a game that's missing something. I remember spending hours lost just trying to figure out what to do next, though, friendly reminder, I was a dirtbag Nimrod. But it did feel like there was just a general clunkiness that plagued Log 1, Log meaning Legacy of Goku. But let's talk about that sequel. Legacy of Goku 2, buddy. Peak gaming right here, boys. Maybe this video should be about Log 2, man. That means Legacy of Goku 2. Shoo! What an improvement. Big roster characters you unlock as you play through the story, satisfying little differences in abilities between characters, great sprite work, and on top of that, this tells the story of the Android and Cell sagas. The first time I had really been able to take in the whole saga in chronological order, because even on the sparse occasion when we were able to watch the show, it wasn't exactly easy to watch in order. You just kind of caught it when it was on TV. Whatever episode you got was what you got. And I'm a big Gohan fan too, so the ending of the Cell Saga will always hold a special place. But the madmen at Webfoot, they weren't done yet.
Dragon Ball Z Boost Fury. I remember when they brought me on for the project, I had never read Dragon Ball, never seen it, doesn't seem like my cup of tea. You might ask why they brought me on to be lead designer.
Dragon Ball Z Boost Fury. Released for the Nintendo Game Boy Advance in 2004, this game took all the improvements for Log 2 and streamlined them even further. Boost Fury tells the events spanning from the Otherworld Tournament to the Great Saiyaman Saga, my favorite saga that I will expound on in a later video probably, and the Boo Saga. The Otherworld Tournament is used as somewhat of a tutorial area. You start as Goku and quote-unquote train for the tournament. You don't spend too much time on it, which makes sense considering it's completely inconsequential. One thing this game does very well is trim the filler from the story. This is basically as bare bones as they can tell the plot while hitting all the major points. I watched through this portion of the anime while replaying the game for this video, and I totally forgot how much time is kind of just wasted watching Goku race a Kai on a flying motorcycle so he can prove himself. The anime filler gets weird, man. But once that wraps up, you spend a little time as Gohan. I remember restarting the game so much when I was a kid to replay this part because for some reason I really enjoyed the dumb, lighthearted high school superhero stuff. I'll talk about this more another time, most likely, but I wish we had spent more time in this grounded Dragon Ball era before moving back into the Goku saves the entire Omniverse type stuff. Anyway, once the Saiyaman Saga ends, you get into the Boo Saga, and this is where the majority of your playtime in the game is spent. I don't think I need to necessarily recount the events of the entire Boo Saga, so I'll just say that Boost Fury does a really good job of hitting all the high points of the plot while generously spending time with each character. You even get to play the story of the non-canon Janemba movie, which they slot in surprisingly well into the story. Super dope to get a level where you play as Gogeta. And they even slap Broly in there, which the child version of myself playing this absolutely loved.
So I joined the team fairly early on, of course, and I noticed they were working on the combat mechanics, and they were only using the A button. And I proposed to the team, fellas, what if we used the B button? And, they thought it was bollocks, basically. They thought I was, taking a piss.
In a game with this large of a roster and with this restrained story, it can be difficult to balance character levels without one or two getting way stronger than the others. It's kind of impressive how they balance the game in a way that never really ends up with one character insanely stronger than the other, unless you just grind like crazy. And that's where we'll get into gameplay. Boost Fury is an action RPG, and when I replayed the game, it really surprised me how easy it was. It basically amounts to hitting the A button fast enough that the guy whose face you're turning into sweet potato casserole doesn't have time to hit you back, because each punch gives him a little hit stun. So you kind of end up on baby mode if you hit the punch button fast enough. You also have key attacks with the B button, but these are kind of useless when you can just go punch mode and win. The key attacks are fun though if you just relax, buddy. Not everything's a competition. Chill out. Use a Kamehameha. Who cares? While the gameplay is generally pretty easy, it's still somehow satisfying to just grind out levels until you can get through these little level gates. These generally block you from continuing the story until you're strong enough, or from secret areas, well, you can't access until you're strong enough. Every door has a number of a certain color that corresponds to a specific character, meaning there's Goku doors, Gohan doors, Goten doors, you get it. And then there's the RPG aspect. I personally haven't played many action RPGs, but this one seems kind of like baby's first action RPG as far as complexity and difficulty is concerned. You have equipment slots that allow you to modify your stats based on different clothing items, though I mostly use the 2-ton items to make EXP growth faster because as you level you get EXP points. And these points can be attributed to 3 different stats. You have strength, power, and endurance, and also the uneditable speed stat. Now listen to me, buddy. I'm gonna give it to you straight. Invest in power, because that's the punch one. It does more damage and it stuns. You're gonna come to me. You're gonna say, but Mr. Salvo, I want stronger ki blast because ki attacks are fun, and I'll say go sit down, push on the A button 1,000 times until you've learned your lesson. Sorry, I really don't know what that was. So anyway, strength makes your melee attack stronger, power makes your ki attack stronger, and endurance makes the rare hit from enemies do less damage. Listen to me. You're going to be tempted by power. And that's valid. When I was a kid your age, all I ever did was go to one side of the screen and mouth Kamehameha to myself quietly while slamming on that B button. I also used to turn the water in the shower as hot as it would go, and I'd silently yell pretending I was going Super Saiyan. I imagine it was like Trunks when he went Super Saiyan for the first time after the androids killed future Gohan. Spoilers. I still sometimes do that. I'm 26. I can do what I want. I have 2 jobs. But anyway, just know you'll be pulled back by strength eventually. It's too busted. We're not going to talk about endurance, the orphan stepchild left on the doorstep. Oh, you want higher defense? What are you scared of? I'm serious. What are you scared of?
What are you scared of?
Sound off in the comments below. Now real quick, let's talk about these sprites. It has to be incredibly difficult to translate these character designs to this art style. It helps that every character has uniquely identifiable visual traits like Goku's hair, Vegeta's hair, and Piccolo's feet, but I'm still really impressed with all these little sprites. Every main character feels super unique and expressive for such a tiny display. It's kind of funny, when I was a kid, I somehow didn't notice how often they reuse sprites and character portraits for NPCs. But recall our discussion re Dirtbag Nimrod. And listen, I'd straight up get this great Saiyaman sprite tattooed on me. As a matter of fact, I might actually do that one day. Character portraits are really fun too. I do think some of them look off in a way that's hard to pinpoint. But, I mean, for the Game Boy Advance, you can't ask for much better. Get some sleep, Gohan, buddy. You look exhausted. In the realm of music, this is actually one of the few Dragon Ball games to feature the Bruce Faulkner score, meaning that I was getting that authentic Cartoon Network American dub experience when I played this game. And I'm sure I could ramble some uneducated nonsense about how good the tracks are, but they speak for themselves really. It helps that all these songs were canvassed all over my childhood, but these tracks are really fun and they're excellent video game music.
We love asking ourselves what it means to be Dragon Ball. And we believe it means courage, innovation, courage. And that's why I am so pleased to announce that Dragon Ball Z Boost Fury will perform at 4K, 60 frames per second, and will launch day 1 on Xbox Game Pass.
I have a deep affection for Dragon Ball. I've played tons of Dragon Ball games, from Taiketsu to Budokai to Fighters, but out of every Dragon Ball game I've played, Boost Fury is the one that makes the little hamster in my brain start running the hardest. And I'll say it, they should make another 2D Dragon Ball action RPG, or remake Boost Fury in 2D HD, I don't know, get weird with it, dude. Furthermore, they should make a game centered around the original Dragon Ball, but now I'm just casting wishes in a well. Don't ask me, I'll never tell. And I didn't even touch on some of the side content like the Z Fighter exhibit collectibles or the Hercule exhibits, and it's just another fun thing to sink into to collect, iconic pixels that vaguely look like stuff from Dragon Ball. Yeah, I'm just kidding, I loved the hell out of this when I was a kid. I feel like games don't do cool collectible stuff like this anymore. In the future, I'd like to play more action RPGs as well. I don't even know that many. I think I've been told of Ys is an action RPG. Ys. I'm doing a bit. I know how to say it, I think. But I know next to nothing about it. If anyone knows of other action RPGs, please let me know. Probably the simpler, the better for me, on account of I'm an idiot. And if you made it to the end of this video, you're probably a fellow Dragon Ball fan, or you've also played Boost Fury, but if you haven't, then give it a shot. It rocks, it's easy to emulate, but you didn't hear that from me. And it's pretty short. Even if you aren't a Dragon Ball fan, it'll take you through the course of some of the most fun and goofy parts of the entire series without the monstrous task of watching hundreds of episodes. And you definitely don't need to know everything about DBZ to play it. I sure didn't.
And that's why I am so pleased to announce
that Dragon Ball Z Boo's Fury will perform at 4K 60 frames per second and will launch day one on Xbox Game Pass.